welcome to another episode of Global Sports Channel's Sports Personality Spotlight. Today, I got a good one for you. I got a real good one for you. He's a speaker, presenter, an entrepreneur with a massive personality, former 200, 400 and 4x4 athlete who has achieved medals in pretty much every championship you can think of. World Indoors, World Outdoors, Europeans, Commonwealth, Olympic Games, right? But what I believe he really should have a medal for is his big heart and passion for people and giving back. My next guest, ladies and gentlemen, is the one and only Jamie Baulch. Jamie, welcome.
Hey.
You're in the house. Well, you're not in the house, you're in your house. Where are you calling from?
Hey, I'm calling from South Wales, Cardiff, where I live, and I've lived here for a number of years now. Absolutely love it. And you know, in the British accent, Tasha, you'll know this is a very strong Cardiff Welsh accent.
Get in there, son. You know, represent Wales. So yeah. You went there. You went at home recently, actually, at least a month ago or so. You weren't actually in Wales. Where were you? What were you up to?
Yeah, I've been in. I was very lucky to be in St. Lucia for Christmas and the New Year in the Caribbean. I was only meant to be there at the body holiday for 8 days. I ended up staying for just about a month and absolutely loved it. While everyone's in lockdown and craziness going back home, I was sunning it up on the beach and relaxing and feeling great about myself.
Yeah, I feel really sorry for you, Jamie. You know, you're only meant to be there 8 days and you just had to stay for a month. Well, so what were you up to? What's the body?
Yeah, the body holiday. Yeah, so the body holiday is like an all-inclusive, pretty high-end resort. It's the most returned resort in the world. Right. It's an amazing resort. It's full of people who love sport, yoga, energy, basically. You know, But what I love about the resort itself is if you want to do all the sporting activities all day and every day, you can. But if you want to do nothing and chill out on the beach and drink a piton, which is the local beer there, you can do that too. It's not like a resort where it's in your face sport, but it's the strap line is you give us your body and we'll give you back your mind. And that is so, you know, provenant with it. It's just such an amazing resort. Like I said, I was there a month and I feel amazing. I've come back refreshed, ready for 2021.
I love it. So I'm assuming you were more on the body side than the beer side then.
Well, no, I was. I think New Year's Eve I had a little tipple, but the funny thing is I've actually given up alcohol for 2021.
Love it.
Last year I gave up meat, and I did it quite comfortably. So now I'm pescatarian, so I do eat fish, but I don't eat meat or chicken or beef. And this year I've decided to give up alcohol because, you know, not that I drank much or anything like that. I was normally a social drinker. If I was going out with my friends to the rugby, or if I would go out, you know, to a restaurant or something, I may have a glass of wine or two. But I just thought, you know what? As you know, Tash, I don't need to have a beer to have a laugh, right? You
right.
Well you've been drinking. No.
Oh my gosh, Jamie, I love that you said that because I've been to parties and afterwards I heard you were really drunk. I'm like, I don't drink. That's how we are. Yeah. I love it.
It's you know, like it's funny. I was only talking to somebody only recently, you know, and we were chatting about it. You know, alcohol is the only drug in the world which people push on you. You know, I mean, people. If you're at a party or you're out and oh, do you want a beer or do you want a glass of wine? No, I don't drink. What do you mean you don't drink? Go on, have a drink. Can you imagine somebody with cocaine going, no, right. I don't snort coke. No, have some coke, have some coke.
Right.
Really like
yeah. So what inspired you to start, you know, cutting out meat and doing that in the first place? What inspired that?
Yeah, it's my partner, Cheryl, basically. She's always one step ahead of me, right? She's like, even though I've achieved all these things in life, she's like always, you know, she'll say something in 2021, right? Whatever it may be, and in 2025 I'll have caught up. Right? She's
right.
It's weird. She's one of those people like, so So she decided to give up meat, several years ago. She had a couple of health challenges, and she thought, you know what, all this inflammation running through your body and all this sort of stuff. And we lived together, and it was just one of those things where I thought, well, let me just see what it's like not eating meat or whatever. And I've heard all these great reviews, and you see it all over the TV now. And I tried it, and I just felt amazing. I pretty much weigh the same as what I weighed at the 1996 Olympic Games, which is 25 years ago now.
I have to pause you there because I don't think people understand how difficult it is to be at your competition fitness and weight as once you're so that far removed, like 2.5-3 decades removed from your actual competition, because the level of fitness that you did is so far. So talk about that, like how it's been staying in shape and what it feels like now to be back at your height of your fitness.
Well, I feel great, actually. I mean, I'm 48 this year, and I train. I don't train really hard. But the saying is, you can't out-train a poor diet. The abs are made in the kitchen, sort of thing. And I mean, if I'm not eating loads of rubbish foods, all these processed foods, and I'm eating sort of whole foods, it's just inevitable that you're going to feel better and keep that weight off. I mean, the bottom line of it, when I was competing at the Olympics, I was eating Haribo's, I was eating McDonald's. I look back now and I think, really? Like, we all were, right?
Yeah, we did.
I did, yes, the word, and I'm thinking, what am I thinking? Like, I could have possibly done even better, in my athletics. So, it's one of those things, and I just feel better for it. It's not rocket science. It's not hard. It's just making those small steps every day to become the better you. The one thing I always say to people, your body is your home, right? There is nothing else important. Your body is your home. And if you can't look after yourself, how can you look after anyone else? Right. So to me, that's really important. I remember Linford Christie saying to me, Olympic gold medalist, 100-meter runner, Linford Christie said to me, charity starts at home. And it's so true, and that is the bottom line of it to me is, you've got to look after yourself, and that's it, and that's what I seem to be doing. Just look after yourself.
Yeah, that's amazing, Jamie. Because I love that saying, that because I used to use the phrase "my body is my business," because I knew if anything happened to my body, I wasn't making any money, right?
Exactly.
And even now, like you said, you have to be healthy for your family. You have to be healthy so you can run your business, but you have to be healthy so you can enjoy the fruits of your labor. So I love that. Now I have to ask you the question that I get asked all the time, so that we can just get it out the way, Jamie. Like, let's just get it out the way. Have you met the Queen? and did you have tea?
You know what? Didn't know you were asked that. Yes, I have met the Queen. I've met the Queen a couple of times now. I didn't have tea with her, but I've met her and said hello, and she said hello back. It was like very brief, but everyone in America thinks that we all must meet the Queen, right? I remember being in America once. I used to live in Atlanta, and I remember every time people would stop me and, hey man, where you from? I'm from the UK. Oh my God, I love your accent. It's so cool. And I'd be like, oh, thank you, and then you start putting on more of a British accent to try and sound even better than you are. And I would sort of do this. And I remember one guy saying to me once, hey, you live in the UK? My friend's from London. You must know him. His name's John. He lives in London. And I was like, really? Like, there's a lot of people who live in the UK, right?
Right, all right. I know.
Like 75 million, 80 million or something. This guy thought there was only 10 of us or so. I don't even know.
I know. I used to get asked if I was black, if I was, the only black person there. And I'm like, yeah, it's just me, my mum and dad. That's it. We're the whole black population.
Yeah, we're struggling. Please call the police.
Right. I love it. So she didn't. Did she slip you her number before you left the palace?
Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, I chat to her all the time. I'm like, yo, Queenie, what's going on, girl? Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it. I love it. Well, let's talk a bit about your sport, Jamie, because you have such a depth when it comes to track and field, when it comes to athletics. In fact, you're one of the most decorated athletes in British history. How did it all begin?
Wow. Well, yeah. It all started for me when I was 11 years old, and like you used to have sports day in school.
Yeah.
Well, we had sports day in our school, and I was 11 years old, and I had to compete in this race called the obstacle race, which you start off running with an egg and spoon, then go over the wooden bench, get into the sack like that, and then go underneath this crash mat and sprint to the finish. Anyway, my headmaster said to me, "On your marks, get set, go." So I started running with the egg and spoon over the wooden bench into the sack like that. And I went underneath this crash mat, and I ended up coming out of the side. And my master said, "Jamie, you've cheated. You've come out the side. Go back to the start." So I ran all the way back to the start, picked up the egg and spoon over the wooden bench into the sack, sprinted to the finish like that, crossed the line like that. I ended up winning the race. I went twice as fast as every kid in the whole school. And my headmaster said, "Hey man, you're fast." I said, "I know I am, sir." And he said, "I think you should join a running club." So that was it. I started running. My granddad and my mum took me down to Newport Harriers in South Wales to my first ever track and field training session, and I loved it. And I just got better and better and better. But the one thing I would say though is, I'm only 5'8", right? And as you know, Tash, that's quite small for any athlete. You know what I mean? Forget sprinters or whatever. So when I was younger, I always used to get beaten. I used to come second, third, fourth. I'd never really win. And it was only when I got to about 17, 18, I started really going up the ranks, World Juniors and whatnot. And, I could take defeat really well. So when I lost, I could just dust myself down and get back up. And it's only when you learn to do that so many times that you end up winning in the end. Tash, you'll understand this is you didn't get that medal, overnight. It took a decade plus for you to think about getting an Olympic medal. But people who don't do it, and people who don't succeed, it's maybe because they gave up that little bit too early, And I learned defeat so much as a kid, then that's why I've got all the medals now. Because what people don't see, they don't realize I lost 1,000 times, but only maybe won 100 times. Do you understand what I mean? And, and it's that which makes you a winner. It's getting back up. And eventually you're going to win the lottery, right?
Right, absolutely. I love that. So what do you think made the difference? What do you think made you the child that said, "You know what, I got beat. I am going to dust myself off"? Was it people around you, or was that just something that you had within you to know? Or did you think, okay, one day, was it the carrot in front? What made you keep going?
It was that innate distinction between me and most, separated me, I think, is when my friends would stop, I would just carry on. It was just something in me. My mum and dad were amazing, great support. But it was within me, which I did. I remember Michael Jackson, the musical artist, amazing guy. Obviously, we loved him when he was around or whatever. And he was playing in Cardiff when I was about 17 years old in South Wales, and everyone in my training group went to watch Michael Jackson perform in Cardiff, and I was the only one who didn't. And it's, they all came back to the training session on Thursday. He was playing maybe on a Tuesday night, and they all came back. "Yeah, oh my God, Michael Jackson was amazing. Oh, you should have been." And I'm the only one in that group who got an Olympic medal. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is the sacrifices which you've got to make. I wanted to go to the Michael Jackson concert. I wanted to, I missed out on a lot. I missed out on seeing my kids grow up. My oldest, as you remember, Tasha, my oldest now is 26 this year. I was at the height of my career in 1995. I had my son. In 96, I got my Olympic medal. So after 96 onwards, I was always away. I was never really at home. So I missed out on, yes, I got to see him, obviously, but I weren't there as much as I'd like. And in life, you've got to make these sacrifices. And that's what it was for me. And that's why, you say about me being decorated and having all these medals, was purely because I was willing to give things up, to sacrifice to get the goal. It wasn't the carrot. You mentioned about the carrot. What made me want to chase that carrot? It weren't any financial thing. It was more a love for the sport. I just loved running fast. And you'll know more than anyone, with this, because you know me well, is you saw me in the relays, right? I just loved it. It was just a game. I was just like, yeah, I just loved having fun. And the faster I could run, and the more the crowd would go, yo, who's this guy? Like, I used to buzz on that. I used to really buzz on the crowd. I saw myself as pretty much of an entertainer, not as an athlete, really. And I think that's what got me through.
Right. Is it entertainment? Do you think that more athletes need to see it as entertainment? Because let's be honest, I've seen a lot of post race interviews and I'm like, this is like watching paint dry. I mean, the athletes are so serious sometimes, it's almost painful. What's your thoughts on that side of it?
Yeah, well, they certainly haven't got the charisma which we used to have, right? I think it's been knocked out of them from maybe their coaches or whatever. I find it quite sort of sad when I see, not everyone, you got the people like the Adam Jamilis, great guy, Brit sprinter, full of personality, and I love watching people like Adam run, and it looks like he's kind of spontaneous human combust every time he steps on the track. I mean, he's like proper giving it everything, and then in his interviews he's very humble and he's funny and he's this and he's very giving. I think people take it too serious, serious now. And I'm going to come on to something which, so I'm sort of almost contradicting myself, but I think they take it too serious when it comes to what they want people to think them, to be. The one thing which I know you are and which I am, we're authentic.
Right.
I never change for anyone. I'm still the same person I was when I was early 20s. Yes, I've matured to a degree, but I'm still that fun-loving same guy, But equally at the same time, to contradict myself to a degree, is I find the sport almost doesn't take itself too serious now. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the Usain Bolt era, Usain Bolt used to come on the track with his beach shorts, do this, have a laugh, smile and wave, yeah. Then he would win the race, right?
Right.
But then what everyone's done is everyone's copied Usain Bolt. You'll get the guy from Poland now. You watch the Olympics this year. This guy from Poland will be in lane 1, right? And he's like 4'6" from Poland, right? White guy. And they'll go in lane 1. We've got Svenko Durisko from Poland, and he'll be like pointing his number, yeah, woo, like that. And I'm thinking, mate, you're gonna come last. Right. You need to stop. You need to stop messing about. And the guy in lane 2 will do the same thing. The guy in lane 3 and the guy in lane, and they're all messing about. Right. And that, to me, they've obviously copied Usain. You can't copy Usain Bolt. You've got to do what is you. And the problem why I think our sport has really gone downhill in relative terms to when we were competing is people watch it now and they don't. It's no gladiators. They're not watching anyone compete anymore. Like when you used to see Ben Johnson versus Carl Lewis versus Linford Christie, or maybe at a later stage you'd see Maurice Greene versus whoever, you'd be like, oh, who's going to win this race? Now you're like, you don't care who wins, because they're all joking on the start line. So I'm contradicting myself. They mess about when it should be serious, but then they're serious when they should be messing about. Do you know what I mean? I find it it's a weird thing, and I sound old saying that, but I think that's the truth,
Right, and now I get it, because I mean, it's not really a contradiction. It's really basically saying there's a time and a place for everything, right?
Exactly.
When if you are genuinely Usain Bolt and you have all your stuff together and you are mastering your art, then chill out, have a bit of fun. But if you're not there yet, there may be some other things you want to put at the top of your list. So I totally get that.
You're going to see that guy from Poland now in lane 1. I hope. I hope there's no lane 1 from Poland now. I feel bad to say that.
He's going to be writing you some hate mail shortly.
Yeah.
So talk about, the growth of your sport. How did you said that you felt passionate about it from a young age. Did you then decide, okay, this is my career, or were you like, okay, I'm going to study this and make sure I got a safety net and a good education because I'm going to go into a corporate job? Or was it like, it's track or nothing? How did you decide that this is what you wanted to
Yeah,
do?
I went all in. I went
Mm,
all in. I went all in, lottery, 100%, nothing else left. And, you know, risky, but it paid off, right?
right.
And, in sport, you've got to take that risk. You can't be, some of the people who aren't making it, like, and in fact, it's, without mentioning names, I used to train with certain people and they never made it, right? And
Right.
it's because they'd almost be too intelligent for their own good. You know what I mean? They'd overthink things. They'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, so if I go training 6 days a week, that means I can't concentrate on, you know. No, you've got to go all in. The sacrifice you've got to make is, I remember somebody saying to me when I was younger, they said, oh, you're the runner, you're the runner. And I remember replying to them in my early 20s, running something I do, not what I am. Right.
Right.
And that's a
Right.
big statement because, even though I loved the sport and I was 100% in, I put all my chips in, I was always mindful that this isn't going to last forever. And I was always mindful that if it's not going to last forever, and it's like a football wage, soccer wage, basketball wage, you'd have to do something when you retire, right? It's not like, you earn millions in the sport unless you're Usain Bolt or maybe Michael Johnson. You've got to always have that mindfulness on the back end of it. So I was very lucky, even though I went all in on my chips. Outside of that, I was quite a big personality at the same time. So
Right.
I had my own TV show when I was competing. I was sponsored by Yves Saint Laurent, which designer clothing label. I was doing stuff which a lot of other athletes weren't doing. So even though I was focused on my sport and giving my sport everything, you can't compete every day. You can't train for 24 hours of the day. So in my spare time, when I had a bit of downtime, I would make use of that. So
Right.
that got me the personality and the bits, I suppose, which I've got today, which has enabled me to go on far more than what my sport was. So yeah, I went all in, but I was quite mindful at the same time, is focus on, have some other sort of things when you've got downtime.
Absolutely. And you know what? I love that you bring that up because that was something I did not master. Like I was almost of the mindset that if I thought about anything else, it would be almost like telling myself that I wasn't going to win and it wasn't going to all work out, and I didn't want to accept the fact that that might be a reality. How does an athlete master that? How does an athlete create that balance? Because when I think back, I wonder, even if I had known that I should or gone down that path, I'm not sure I would have necessarily had the skill set you had. What do athletes need to do? Like, how do they become an ambassador for Yves Saint Laurent? How do they start their own show? What does
Yeah.
it take?
So it's funny you say what you say for yourself. It's like I chat to Colin Jackson, 110-meter hurdler, still holds the current world record for the 60-meter hurdles. I mean, the guy was brilliant, right? And if you were chatting to him on this call now, he would say he took himself too serious, and
Right.
he does regret that he didn't enjoy the sport as much as he did, as he should have. I mean, that being said, he still holds the world record, right? Because he was so
Right.
single. Do you know what I mean? He was so
Yeah.
single-minded. That's why he was great. To me, and this isn't me putting myself down, but I'm a realist. I've always been a realist. I was never a Colin Jackson. I was never a Usain Bolt. I was never a Linford Christie or a Carl Lewis or a Michael Johnson. I was very, very good, obviously, because you don't get the
Right.
medals you get if you're not. But I also knew that I just weren't, like, there can only be one, right? There can only be one amazing sprint. I mean, Usain Bolt's 6'5",
Right.
right? I'm 5'8". His turnover is faster than mine. It's inevitable that some people are always going to be better than you, right? Like, yes, I was a world champion at one point in my career. In fact, I got 3 world championship gold medals with 2 relay medals. But I was just really honest with myself. So if I thought, well, if I'm not going to be this this person, which is maybe the biggest athlete ever, then and I had this personality. Well, show people that I'm more than just a 400-meter runner. And this is what I was doing. The Eve Zeller and I had a TV called a show called Energize on ITV in the UK. I enjoyed mixing it up because those other things which I did, such as the designer stuff or whatever, they made me relax and they made me enjoy life. And so when I stepped on the track, that was just an extension of what I was doing anyway. So I feel very lucky that I won the fruits in athletics, and I won the fruits outside of that. And I mean, not every personality and personality type can have that. If you're a serious person, maybe you're not going to do those other things because you're serious, right? But I've always had fun. The more fun I had, the faster I ran. And you, again, Tash, you know me well enough. If you saw me smiling at the start of the race, you'd be like, "Oh, Jamie's going to win this race." You know what I mean? People just knew, like, like, "Oh, he's laughing, he's messing about, he's going to do something crazy," And I feel lucky that I managed to identify to that as an early, early on in my career. What I think it comes from is, I think, because you said where is that? I think, living in Wales, right? So I'm from Wales, a mixed race. I'm from Wales. It's a small country. It was very much, if you didn't grow up in London or Birmingham, and as a sprinter, you were almost like an outcast, right? Wow. So I was 16, 17 years old, already on the back foot, right? So when I stepped to the British Junior Championships in Stoke, where they'd have each year, and I faced people like Darren Campbell, who went on to win an Olympic gold in the 4x1 and an Olympic silver medal in the 200 meters. When I got to face all those people, I thought, if I don't show myself right now as a 17-year-old, I'm just going to disappear. So what did I do? I had the crazy hair. What did I do? I came out and ran fast. And within that first meeting at Stoke, everyone knew who I was, because I wanted to make a statement. And so that personality, I couldn't just come out of Wales and just be a normal guy. I had to come out with some sort of difference. And I decided it weren't actually an obvious thing. I didn't go, "Oh, let me be a certain person." I was always that person anyway, but I just extended that personality. I wanted to show the world that people from Wales, people who are mixed raced down in South Wales, can win championships. And that was it. I was strong, determined, I wanted it, and the rest is history.
I love it. Now, I want athletes to really hear what you're saying. I want people who are in sports to really hear what you're saying. And I want to focus on the personality part of it just for a second, because I can hear right now people saying, "Well, I don't have a big personality. I wouldn't be able to attract sponsors. I wouldn't be able to do what Jamie does. I'm just not that kind. I'm an introvert." Da, da, da. What do you say to those people who maybe for them being authentic is not the loud personality or the big bubbly personality? Do they still have a chance at creating good business relationships and building something that they can stand on once their sport is finished? I was speaking actually to another athlete, James Kluski, and he mentioned that sports almost kind of gives us not a realistic view of the world. It's kind of this very small part of our lives. But athletes are made to almost think that it's their entire life. So speak about that aspect of it.
Yeah. So not every athlete can be the same. Not every athlete is going to have the personality type which I've got. There's lots of other athletes out there when I was competing which were far more serious than me. People like the Roger Blacks and Mark Richardsons of the relay team. They were quite serious athletes, but they forged themselves some great careers after athletics, and they did pretty well whilst during athletics. I mean, it's ultimately knowing who you are, right? It's knowing who you are. It doesn't matter if you're the quiet person, that doesn't mean that it's not going to work. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just a matter of being authentic. And I think with that authenticity, I think if you're honest with yourself and you're honest to the outside world in relative terms, then that confidence is going to go with you. You know what I mean? Right. You haven't got to be the person, look at me over here. Let the running do the talking. Let the running do the talking. And when you do get that interview, because you've mastered your trade, then, you know, the sponsors will notice you, because they'll go, look how assured this athlete is. Look how confident this person is. You know, learn how to speak. Learn. Don't just go, okay, I'm running really fast, or I'm jumping really high, or throwing really far, whatever it is. You know, you can only compete for a certain and train for a certain number of hours of the day. Once you finish that, learn how to do corporate speaking, learn how to do media training, learn how to what the right thing is to say on social media. Don't just presume. Don't just, we don't know hardly anything. You know, a lot of the stuff we know is we get taught, right? So for me, I'm always learning. You know, in my business now, in everything I do, I've learned how to do Photoshop. I've learned how to do InDesign. I've learned how to make frames. I've learned how to speak to people in a certain way. I've learned to, like, most of everything which I do now. You know, I'm 47. Most of the things I do now, I've learned my trade just as much as I learned my trade in learning how to run. And you cannot presume that if you run fast, jump high, or throw far, that's it. Like, just don't leave any stone unturned. That's what I'm basically saying. Do you know what I mean? Because if you leave it, somebody else won't. Somebody else will turn it over and get that bunk up. No, it's going to be me.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm turning it over. You know, so yeah, we're all different personalities, and that's fine. But don't just think that's it. Just, you know, keep pushing towards whatever your internal goal is.
Absolutely love it. That is excellent advice. By the way, Jamie, earlier in the show, you said you were 48. You just said you were 47. You're getting younger as the show goes on. I want to know what supplements you're taking, because I need
I'm 45 now, 43 now. No. I think if you rewind, I think I said that I'm gonna be 48 this year.
Okay. I'll go work on my listening skills. I haven't done listening training yet. It's coming.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm 48, man. I can't believe I'm touching 50, but I feel
just right there.
It's just there, just in grab reach. I feel like I'm 30. I don't feel any different. You know, I've matured more. You know, I know a lot more. That's the only difference between now than when I was 30s. I know a lot more. I'm a little bit more, not apprehensive in the respect of holding back in any way, but I'm a little bit more thoughtful of what my next move would be. So if I was a chess player now, I'd be playing really well. You know what I mean? Like when you're younger, you just yeah, and then you mess up, yeah, and you mess up again. Now I'm a little bit more switched on, you know?
Right. I love that. Now, with your businesses, with everything that you've got going on, I know that a lot of track and field helped to formulate the kind of businessman that you have become, right? What are some of the things that you took from track that transfer into business? Because this is another lesson I think that's really important for athletes, is they don't necessarily see the value of who they are as an athlete and what it means to, say, someone who's in the corporate world. What are some of the things that are transferable skills as an athlete?
You know what? Most are transferable, right? Like, I didn't realize how similar the corporate world is and track and field is. It's so close together, which people wouldn't think they are. You know, to be a master of something, you've got to train, you've got to have the discipline, you've got to have, you know, you've got to wake up at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time, eat the right food, do the right training. You know, to be a CEO of a multi-million-pound business, you've got to do the same principles, except maybe do the heart and lungs, right? You know,
right.
But it's the same thing. And one of my like my first taste of business, right? I'm going to just quickly jump to this one just to show you the mindset. So one of the big things, I retired from sport and I went to myself, well, you know, I want to show people that I'm more than just a runner, right? And I went, well, what's the biggest thing in Wales? And the biggest thing in Wales, if you live in Wales, is Welsh rugby. The sport Welsh rugby is huge. I mean, wow, you know, everyone loves Welsh rugby players, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very visual and I love pictures, of which I've said I've learned Photoshop, InDesign, you know, I love it. I've always loved that. And I went, well, how can I show the world and show myself that I'm more than just a runner? So I went to Welsh Rugby, and I had my only lucky gambit was I had the chief exec's phone number, right, of Welsh
Right.
Rugby. That's the only bit I had, which maybe the average person wouldn't have had. But I
Right.
earned that. I earned that from winning medals and sacrifice, right? So
Right.
anyway, I went into Welsh Rugby, met the chief exec, round the board table, and I went to them and I said, they said, so Jamie, you know what brings you in here to talk to us? And I said, oh, can I talk to you about your Welsh Rugby calendar? And they said, yeah, not a problem. And I said, can I be really honest? We're all adults in here now. And they went, yeah, yeah. And I said, your Welsh Rugby calendar is awful. I said, it's rubbish, right? And they were like, oh. You know,
Pretty bold, bitch.
You could see them like, how dare you? You know what I mean? But I went, it's rubbish. And I said, let me tell you why it is. I'm not just saying it's rubbish just for rubbish sake. And I held up the calendar like this, and I was turning over each page like this. And I said, look at January. I said, you've got a certain sponsor on the shirt. Let me go to February. I said, you've got another sponsor. I said, if I was sponsoring you right now, I'd be pretty ticked off that you haven't got it uniform, right? That, you know, for 30 days of this month, you've got your old sponsor in a photograph. I would be not happy with that.
Right.
So I said, what I want to do is I want to do next year's calendar for you. And I showed them 12 drawings, which I had done, which I got somebody to do for me. If you can't do it yourself, bring somebody else in who can. That's another little nugget there, right?
Great
so
advice.
I ended up going. So I ended up showing them this calendar, and I said, I want to do the calendar next year. And they said to me a very good question. They said, so Jamie, why should we give you this calendar? You know, have you got any skill set of making a calendar? Have you ever done one before? And I said, no. But I said, you don't become a world champion or an Olympic medalist by being lazy. So I said, you give me the opportunity, I will do a better calendar than that. And I said, it's not that hard. I said, my son could have done a better job than that. And they laughed a bit. They made me go out of the room. I came like a little boy. I came back in the room and they said, so Jamie, we're going to give you the license for the calendar next year. And I was like, wow.
Wow.
Just like Richard Branson, just say yes. I just went, yes, I'll do it. 9 months later, I sold record calendars ever for Welsh Rugby.
Wow.
I knew nothing about it. But so I brought in a photographer, a really good photographer. I brought in a company called Pindar, which used to make yellow pages. They were the printers for yellow pages. I brought in a distributing company, blah, 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 blah. And I just brought in all these key people and people to make it. Bang, the rest is history. So, you know, that was my first taste of business. And, you know, why athletics and that calendar were so similar is because I had to work my butt off. I had to get up when people didn't want to get up. I was running around on the 20th of December with loads of calendars in the back of my car, delivering them all to these different shops. You know, I would do everything, whatever it took to make that calendar successful. And that is what got me into business life. So nothing in life comes to you, nothing really ever really lands in your lap. Now and then you may have a couple of lucky breaks, but generally you've got to go to it, not it come to you. And that's what I've taken from athletics. I'm always going for it. I'm always going for it. Even when I don't want to do it, and it's a lot of times I can't be bothered, I still do it. That is the key to success, is keep doing it. Keep doing it. Oh, I've messed up. Keep doing it. Oh, I failed. Keep doing it. Oh my God, I've just won the lottery. And that is it. That is the key to success, is just keep doing it when other people won't. And, you know, if you had asked me when I was 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, do you think you'll get an Olympic medal? I would have said to you, I want one, but I wouldn't have really known I would have one, because nobody knows what the future's going to lay. But I gave it my all. And that's the secret. You know, Tasha, you know yourself. I mean, you know, how many pitfalls did you get before you won your Olympic medal? People only see the medal, right? You know, I've seen you when you were injured. Yeah, you know, I've seen you injured. I've seen you upset. I've also seen you win an Olympic medal, and I've seen you happier than anyone else. You know, so it's graft, perseverance, and just that sure-pigged headedness to not give up in adversity. I've been knocked down so many times. I had people saying, "Oh, you'll never win. He's only 5'8". He's from Wales. He's got no hope." Michael Johnson, the younger. Next thing you know, I've got all these medals. You know, so that's what it is. That's the key.
Absolutely. And that's such a great lesson, because you really showed how you can take that same determination and, like, just like you said, you don't always want to do it. I didn't always want to be at training. It's like a million other things I would rather do. So absolutely.